Andre Fluellen. I am your former NFL player. I call myself the NFL alchemist. And what I mean is that I'm a former NFL player, but I've used the same things that work in the NFL in terms of mindset and motivation or the same things that work in life. I understand how to alchemize or change one thing into another into life, and I'm doing this right now. So today, we're going to be talking about a subject because today, again, your life is going to change starting today. And one of the reasons why your life or my life hasn't been changing is realistically because we believe that we will make it. I will come through. I will persevere. I will do this. I will do that. And all that sounds really good. But the problem with will is always in the future. I will get rich. I will be successful. I will lose weight. It sounds so good when we say it, but will is always in the future. Now, here's the thing, and here's what I want to talk to you about a little bit today is will not versus cannot. This is something that's very key to understand. So a lot of people say, I will not stop. I will not be defeated. I will not let this happen to me. And that sounds really, really good. It sounds so good to say I will not. But there's a difference because when will not meets cannot always wins. Let me explain. Will is a choice. When I say I will not stop, that is a choice. That's to believe that you will not, or that I will not stop. Like I will not stop making videos. That's a choice that I'll make. Now, depending, it sounds good until I meet enough resistance, then my will not might stop because the resistance might just be too strong. But what I want you to do is I want to change your will not to a cannot, baby. Cannot is so different. So cannot means there is no way that I can stop. Like there's something in me that drives me that does not even allow me to stop. Stopping is not an option. It's just like breathing. You have to breathe to be alive. You cannot stop breathing for a long period of time. You cannot stop drinking water for a long period of time, or you will die. Okay, so you will not eat for a little bit. You will not drink water, but at some point in time, your will not will come to cannot, all right, or your will not will change. And this is what I want for you. I want you to realize that you will not stop. It sounds good, but you cannot stop is even greater, because once you recognize your cannot, then I promise you things begin to change. So I remember, I'll tell you a story. Like I said, I made it to the NFL, played 8 years in the NFL. And one of the reasons why I played 8 years in the NFL is because when I was in college, people used to ask me all the time, hey, how many years are you going to play in the NFL? I would say 8. I wouldn't say 10. I wouldn't say 7. I would say 8. I always said 10 was too long just because I didn't want to risk any injury long term. And I said I needed to play about 8 years. So I said I'm going to play about 8 years in the NFL. That was like what I always said. So I always said I will play 8 years in the NFL. So that was in the future. So there's nothing wrong with saying I will. But here's the deal. I said it to myself so many times that my subconscious mind heard it and turned that will into a can. So what happens is when you say something, and I talk about the formula all the time, and I'll talk about the formula once again. The formula to successful living, ladies and gentlemen, is you have to understand that life is designed by law, L-A-W. Life is designed by law. So the formula to life, the law of life that makes life easy or automatic. When I say easy, I mean something is automatic, okay? So I use those words interchangeably. I don't mean without difficulty when I say easy. I mean that something is automatic when I say it's easy. So, number one, the only way that anything is automatic when it's based upon law. Here is the law of life. This is the foundational, fundamental law of life, ladies and gentlemen. That as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Every video that I say, you're going to hear me say this. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So your life, my life, is a reflection of what's inside my heart or inside my subconscious mind. They both mean the same thing. So if I want to change my life, I need to change what's in my subconscious mind. Well, how do I change what's in my subconscious mind? What's in my subconscious mind is a direct reflection of my consistent, constant, dominant thoughts. So if I want to change my life, I need to change my subconscious mind. If I need to change my subconscious mind, I need to change my thoughts. But I always say this. Have you been in a situation where it's so hard, it's so straining? You might be a mental health crisis. It might be you might be broken up with a boyfriend or girlfriend or a wife or a husband, and so things are so bad. Financial things are so bad that you cannot help but think about those things. I have some good news for you. The way to change your thoughts are just a reflection of your consistent and dominant hearing. This is so like. If I could say anything in the world a million times, this would be the thing that I would say. That if you can change what you consistently hear over the course of time, you will change your thoughts. If you change your thoughts, you'll change what's in your subconscious mind. If you change what's in your subconscious mind, you will change the results in your life, period. This is how this thing works. This is how life has been programmed. We have been programmed as a human species to be programmed by our ears. So every single day when I was in college, I would say I would play 8 years in the NFL. I'm playing 8 years in the NFL. I'm playing 8 years in the NFL. That's what I'm doing. I'll play 8 years in the NFL. That's how many years I'm gonna play. I'm playing. And so what ended up happening is even though I kept speaking it, every word spoken by me is also spoken to me. So I kept hearing it. And then what I started doing, I started thinking about playing 8 years in the NFL. And then what ended up happening, that 8 years got stuck into my subconscious mind. And what had to happen, what had to reflect in my life is 8 years in the NFL. So the same way happened was, so I played for the Buffalo Bills and also I played for the Detroit Lions. So when I played for the Buffalo Bills, to be quite honest, you might not know this, but I played for the Buffalo Bills for 3 weeks. I got cut from the team and then I got signed by the Detroit Lions 1 week later and played in London. Now, that year, that was 2013, whenever it was. So that year, 2015, sorry. That year, believe it or not, I wrote down in my book, which I always keep a journal, that I said, this is what I said, I'm going to get signed by one team, get cut by that team, get signed back to the Lions and play in London with the Lions. That's what I said. Why did I say that? Because I knew in the NFL, believe it or not, this is a little trick. If you play over 4 years, so whenever you're assigned to another team, if you play 1 week with that team, you get your whole year's salary. So that's what happened with me. So I knew that. So I wrote it down in my book that would happen. So I got signed by the Buffalo Bills. Played there week 1. Didn't even play, to be honest. They cut me week 2. Guess what? Week 3, I got picked up by the Lions. Do you know where the Lions played in week 4? They played in London. That was my last game of my career in London. But I wanted to play in London so bad with the Lions. That's exactly what I did. So there's another thing. I keep telling the stories. I made $1 million in a day in 2021. Whole story. Had a house fire. They paid some stuff off. Like, I made $1 million in one day. Now, what ended up happening, earlier that year, I wrote down in my journal, I can make $1 million this year. I didn't say I will make $1 million this year. I said I can. Now, I know it sounds like can. When I say I can do something, it sounds like up and down, like you're not sure about something, right? Like I say I can or I cannot, but when I say I will make $1 million this year, oh, that sounds real good. There's a difference though. I'd rather somebody say they can versus they will, because will means two things. Will means, yes, I am adamant about doing it, but will also is in the future. And the thing is, the way the subconscious mind knows, the way your mind works and operates, is that there is always now. There is no past, present, future. Everything is now. You got to get this. Everything is right now. There is no past, present, future in the subconscious mind. So whenever we say we will do something, what we are saying to ourselves as we are putting something outside or out of reach of ourselves. That's what we're doing. So we're always putting something into the future. So do you know what the subconscious mind hears when it hears I will do something, or I will have $1 million, or I will make $1 million in a month, or I will be successful one day? It always moves. It always hears one day. It always hears a month. It always hears in the future. It always hears. And so therefore your subconscious mind is logging that in, and you're experiencing not having something, or having something always in the future. That's how it works. So when you say I can, right, and then you start seeing yourself as doing it right then and having it right then, that's a totally different thing. Because when I say I can, that means I have the ability to, and therefore my subconscious mind says, oh, he can? Oh, really? And it says, oh, that means he has the ability to. Let me show him that he actually has the ability to. And that's exactly how this thing works. So this is what I want to tell you guys, ladies and gentlemen, that turn your will not in terms of stopping or being unsuccessful. Turn your will not into cannot. Find a way. Here's the way to turn your will not into cannot. Will not is a choice, it's a conscious choice to say, I will not stop doing this. I will not eat the bad food. That's a conscious choice. But you have to turn that into a cannot. And it's a burning desire, something that's in you that will not even allow you to do the things. And one of the ways to do it is what I talk about is called the law of the target. Now, here's the way to do it. And I'll tell you, and this will be the last thing that I'll talk about today. So turn your will not into cannot. I'll tell you a story about I had a boxing match in 2021. Now, I wanted to get under 11% body fat. That was my goal. Okay, so I used to tell myself, I will work out all the time. I will not eat unhealthy foods, because I know if I don't do those two things, then I will not get to under 11% body fat. So that was my will not. So it's always good to start with a will not, but then you have to translate or alchemize or transmute that into a cannot. How do you do that? It's called the law of the target. What you have to do is you have to put something in your future that is in relation to the thing that you want. And also something that you enjoy and something that could be embarrassing. All right, so look, I wanted to get under 11% body fat. There's one exercise, there's one sport I know that is the best cardio and is my favorite sport, boxing. Okay, so I love boxing, but it wasn't enough. So when I go to the boxing gym, there's nothing that can happen that's embarrassing to me. I enjoy it a lot, but remember, target. A target is a goal wrapped in enjoyment and embarrassment. So a target is something different. So the goal, like I wanted to get under 11% body fat, that's a goal. So here was my target. What I did was I set a boxing match 4 months later, because I knew there's two things about boxing. There's two things. One, I love boxing, it's fun. But there's one fundamental problem with boxing is that you can get your knocked out. Okay, that's a big problem. And so that's embarrassing. So what I did, I invited all my family and friends to my boxing match. Why did I do that? Because I needed the threat of embarrassment to drive me into doing something. It's called the target. So do you understand that will not, in terms of eating right and exercising every day, it went to like I couldn't help but eat right and exercise because I had this threat of this boxing match. I had this threat of embarrassment, but also I had the thrill of enjoyment. Those two things in combination with each other, I promise you, there's nothing that you can't do. Now, if you do that, and then you combine that with the law of what I call hearing and thinking, the most foundational law, if you combine that with the formula, let me explain what the formula is, once again, for the last time. The formula is, as a man thinks, so is he. The man thinks in his heart, so is he. So our lives is a reflection of what's in our subconscious mind. What's in our subconscious mind is a reflection of our dominant thoughts. Our dominant thoughts are a reflection of what we've been consistently and constantly hearing. So if you can use the law of the target and set up a target in your life, and then consistently hear things that are in line with that target. Like if I wanted to lose weight again, I always hear, I am easily and effortlessly losing weight. I am doing all these things. If you do those two things, I promise you, life becomes like, you will wonder how anybody lived any other way. And this is one of the secrets of life. This right here that I'm telling you right now, if you do this, I promise you, if you do this, you can have anything you want to have in life. And when you get the things that you want, it brings great things along with it. Like it brings amazing things along with it. Like when I made that $1 million in a day, I didn't know that I was going to get a completely renovated house. Like I'm telling you, and the reason I made that $1 million in that day was because I set up that boxing match. It was the same year because it was something that I really craved to do. It brought along all the good things with it. So there's a Bible verse that I love. So there's a thing in English called contrapositives, where it means that, one thing is true, then the opposite of that thing can be true as well. So it's a contrapositive. So what I did was, there's a Bible verse that says, when a evil spirit leaves out of a person, it leaves the person empty. And then it goes searching for another place to go and make itself home. But then When it can't find another place, what ends up happening is that evil spirit comes back to that individual, comes back home, and it sees the home all cleaned up and it's swept and it's all ready for it. And the evil spirit brings 7 other spirits along with it that are even more dangerous than that one. I know it sounds crazy, but what does that really mean? Basically, when you put something out there, okay, you put something in, just like I talk about this law of the target. When it comes back, now this is both positive and negative too. So when you put something out there negatively and you don't, like, let's say you say you're going to quit smoking, okay? And you just say, okay, I'm stopping smoking, and I stop. And you don't do anything else to refill that void. Then when that smoking comes back, or that smoking feeling, or that smoking a spirit comes back on you, sometimes, like, don't you feel like you got to smoke every pack of cigarettes? Well, it's brought 7 other spirits that are just as dangerous, even more dangerous, along with it, because there was nothing else filled in there. The positives happened the exact same way. So just like me with that boxing match, man, I put it out there in my spirit. My spirit went out there in terms of like something that I wanted to do. When it came back to me, it came back, but it also brought 7 other good things, good spirits, angels, if you want to call them, back in the form of money, in the form of $1 million in a day, in the form of a newer house. So I'm just saying that, hey guys, you can have what you want to have in life. I promise you. You can have anything that you want to have in life. You got to understand the law of the target and also the formula. Love you guys. Peace.